All right, welcome to another episode of United Goalkeeping Alliance and the Goalkeepers podcast. My name is Coach Art, and today we have Coach Michael Kappas. Coach Kappas, please tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do, where you are, and tell us about you.
Sounds good. First of all, good morning, Art. Like Coach Art said, my name is Michael Kappas. I am the Virginia Russia Goalkeeper Director in Virginia Beach. And I am also the College Advisory Program for our club here. And I also coach the 2006 girls.
So it sounds like you keep busy, my friend. Uh,
Yes.
so, so today we're going to be talking about game day stress, anxiety, kind of that mental management, of all the different feelings that we have. So, first, I guess, is why is it important to manage our mindset, our emotions on game day?
Well, that's a good question. It's important because if we allow the stress and of the game and all the negativity that comes along with that, that would definitely affect our game. Um, I always tell my keepers, you just have to let everything go, focus on the game, focus on your game, and just make sure that you can do the best that you can. You cannot allow emotions, stress, everything that goes on with life to overtake your game, because that's when you're gonna have a really bad game.
So when you are maybe a little younger, right? So when you're in like 7, 8, 9, maybe up to 10, 11, you feel like you can do anything. Like, and I remember what that feeling was like, right? I would show up, I would get in goal, and I would, I don't even want to name a keeper because I'm going to date myself, right? But, I would pretend I was like newer, right? I would pretend I was Schmeichel. I would pretend I was Van der Sar. I could do everything. So I had no real issues with my confidence or with getting in between the net. And like if I had a mistake or if I got scored on, it wasn't a big deal. As we get older, those feelings kind of start to get smaller, and the feelings of anxiety, of worry, and stress start to get a little bit bigger. So, why do you think that is? And how do we keep that childlike innocence and love for the game going as long as we can?
Uh, yeah. So it's hard, right? Because as we get older, expectations change. It depends on the team that you're in, the environment that you're in, the leagues that you play in, the college that you play in, the professional level that you play in. So everything changes as you get older. Just like you said, I'm not gonna name keepers back on our younger days, but when we used to go in the backyard and play, we would call out those keeper names, and it didn't matter. We went to the games, we played our game, and there was no stress because it was just the fun of the game. Hey, I want to be there with my friends. And just play this game that I love, and then get some snacks after the game, and go home. But as you get older, again, expectations change. People look at you differently. The games mean more now. And then now you have the competition. A lot. Especially in college. Some colleges have three or four goalkeepers. So now you are competing with your friends at the same time you're competing for the starting position, and you don't want to make that mistake because then you might find yourself in the bench for the remaining of the season. So, unfortunately, as we get older, expectations change. The pressure change just because it's just nature. The competition change, and unfortunately, a lot of times we forget to look back and be like, hey, this is the game that I love. This is the game that I have fun with. Because of all those factors of the competition, the expectations. So the way we can make the game more fun again, I think, is to let the kids be kids. Let the players be players. Let's not, add extra pressure on them. Believe me, they have pressure on their own. Coming from their families, coming from, from playing against their friends. So they're gonna have that pressure on their own. So I feel like as coaches, maybe we just step back a little bit and take that pressure away from them and just let them be kids. Just let them enjoy the game.
I yeah, I think you're right. I think that part of the problem is the coaches are like us, right? Us as coaches sometimes um putting a little bit of pressure on the kids, setting expectations that maybe are a little too high, because we all view the game very, very differently.
Hmm.
And for some people, for example, for some people, and again, we can go back to even like the parent aspect of it, right? Winning versus developing. In the scenario that you're posing where you're maybe um 16, 17, maybe older, and now you're looking at like a more professional environment. Now you're looking to win. That's a very different stress than it would be, playing U12, U13, U14, where you're still developing.
Hmm.
I mean, the stress still exists. It's just different, right?
Correct.
So how much of the expectations, whether it's from the coaches or the parents, how much of that, how much are we putting too much pressure on these kids, on these goalkeepers, um to get not and the pressure isn't to develop, right? Or the pressure isn't, hey, show up with energy. The pressure is like, show up and win. Like, you have get like, and a lot of times it's not win, it's like, you got to get a shutout.
Hmm.
So how much of that plays into the kids' confidence, and their anxiety level just skyrocketing based off of expectations we're setting for them?
Yeah, no, it's huge. Obviously everything starts from home, right? What kind of conversations the parents are having with their keepers or with the players. Is it like, hey, I expect you to have a shout out so I can get you, a Slurpee today. That's, as innocent that conversation is. Hey, I expect you to have a shout out so I can get your Slurpee today. That just has raised the stress level for that 13, 14-year-old kid even more, because you know hey, I want to make mom and dad proud. So, and then I want to get that Slurpee. As coaches, I feel like a lot of times we set the bar high, but it's okay. It's okay as long as it's achievable. You don't want to set the bar high where the kids cannot achieve it, and then now that extra stress is building in. You know, with, okay, now I got to get the shout out for the Slurpee. Now the coach has his expectations for me. And then now my teammates are having, this extra expectation. Now everything is coming into me 5 minutes before kickoff, and now I got to perform. So, and then the other thing I believe is, social media. Social media plays a big role in today's world that we live in, with adding the extra pressure. Like, oh, I don't want this. I don't want my bad moment making it on social media, and then everybody joking me and stuff. So that's the added pressure that we didn't have back when we used to play. So yes, a little bit of everything, a little bit of the parents, a little bit of the coaches, a little bit of social media, friends, all that adds up to going into the game. And I don't know how we can change it, because again, we don't, a lot of us don't have our players 24/7, especially the ones that coach in the youth level. Now in the college level is a little bit different, because yeah, we're around with our players, but then you add the stress of college. I got homework. I got, I got the starting position, but there's three other keepers that want to take my position, and the coach is expecting me, to have this. I want to get the shout out so I can prove to the coach that I'm ready to have the starting position, so I can continue to have the starting position. So all those factors, build in, and they just add to that stress level even more, especially as we get older.
And for me, I think when we start talking about social media, we're also kind of starting to talk about comparison.
Hmm.
And I want to, and a lot of times, right? I think where we, or at least, okay, so I'll just talk for myself. When I keep it realistic, it could be in a situation where maybe I see somebody in a professional environment. So now I know I can't duplicate those things. So I can look at that and admire it and cheer that person on. Versus when I see somebody who may be at my level, right? Somebody at my level, someone locally, someone that looks like me, and now and then that person is doing something incredible. That person, and now it's like, okay, why is that person doing that, and why can't I do that? And now, and again, right? And we nobody. So social media is a huge issue in that sense because we don't know what the work behind the camera really is, right?
Hmm. Correct.
Whether that person is training, x amount of days, x amount of times, whether that particular shot that you saw took one take or 200 takes, right? You're looking at a very small view of a skill or something that happened without context.
Correct.
So um when somebody who doesn't have the experience that adults have, right? We're talking about kids now, and they look at that, and now the first thing that they go to is, okay, well, heck, I'm the same age as this person, and they're doing this. Like, what am I doing wrong? And now all that anxiety, all those kind of like uh, negative thoughts start to come into play. So now you're showing up to games kind of like the expectations for yourself become different, and it all starts with comparing yourself and looking at other people versus starting the work at home with yourself.
Mhm. Yeah. No, definitely. And social media is a powerful tool, right? It could be a great tool. It could be it could be a negative tool. It just depends. It depends how you use social media. But no, you're right. Like we have kids here that train 12 to 14, 16 hours a week, and then we have kids that just do the bare minimum. They have 4 hours a week, and I'm good to go. But then they look at the kid and they're like, well, I don't know, understand why this kid is so far ahead of me. Well, because this kid has been training for 16 to 18 hours a week when you've only been putting in 4 hours. So this kid already has, 12, 14 hours more than you have already just in this week. And then if you add it in 2 weeks and a month and a year, now you going, okay, now this kid has thousands and thousands of hours more of training than you do. But yeah, the only thing you see is the 4 hours that you come. You're like, well, if she's on, she or he comes here for 4 hours, then why are we not the same? Well, she or he does not only come for the 4 hours, they're also training another 12, 14 hours a week. So so they don't see it. But you're right. And social media definitely again plays a big role. Like you look at a keeper on TV and you're like, oh, I want to, I don't know why I cannot be like that. Well, again, you don't know what's going on behind the cameras. Did that shot take 200 takes before we got the perfect shot? Did that, how many hours a day or a week this kid or keeper or player is training? We don't know the full context. We just see a 30-second video clip and we're like, why can't I be like this? Well, it takes a lot more than just those 30 seconds that you see to be like that. So yes, so that all that adds even more to the stress level, to the why I'm not there, what's going on.
And this brings up the point of, okay, so how do we reduce that anxiety? How do we reduce that stress? And a big part of that is the training, right? The amount of time that you're getting. You obviously want to get reps in. You obviously want to get your time in, as far as whether it's in a group setting or private setting. You want to train and you want to create routines that now help you normalize an intense situation,
Hmm.
right? I think it was Kobe Bryant who said something along the lines of, I do this in practice 1,000 times, so when I have to do it once in a game, it's not a big deal.
Correct.
So so right off the bat, we're looking at, okay, if we want to help our players out, if we want to help our keepers out, let's put the reps in, let's put the time in, and that's just kind of like bare minimum. to start to alleviate some of that. Um, how do you think that parents can help their kids um, with that anxiety and stress outside of just the extra training? Do you think there's other ways, other habits or routines that they can use that they can implement right away to help that?
Yeah, so I think for one, it's like I tell my parents, just have the positive talk with the kid. Don't tell them, hey, if you have a shot, I'm gonna get you a Slurpee, because as innocent as that sound, again, it creates a stress level that that kid doesn't need, because again, they're already stressed. So I think having the positive talk the night before, or even in the morning on the car ride to the field, just say, hey, you're gonna do great. I'm excited to watch you play, and just go out there and have fun. That's all you got to say as a parent. And that to a kid is like, oh my God, yes, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to have the best time of my life because my mom and my dad just want me to have fun. And that's it. And I feel like if you have positive talk on the car ride, it just makes things a lot easier for the kids, and especially the keepers. And then the other important thing is after the game. I don't care if you won 10-0 or you lost 10-0. The car ride back after the game, I think, is as important as the car ride to the game. Be like, hey, listen, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You had some great saves. Look, if you didn't have those five great saves, you guys would have lost even bigger. So just look at the positives, and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you that you actually dove on that ball and you saved it, and then just leave it like that, because believe me, that kid inside of them, they're like, man, I just allowed 10 goals and blah, 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 and I'm mad. But, as a parent, if you can be like, hey, listen, talk about the positives, think about the five saves that you have, or hey, I liked when you went up in the air and you actually punched a ball. That was so awesome, then that kid is like, okay, yeah, maybe I did have a better game than I think I did. And then that builds into the momentum for the following game and the next game after that and the next game after that. And I feel like as coaches, we need to be a little bit more positive talk with our kids. I'm not saying lie to them and be like, oh my God, you were phenomenal, but you can pick some of the good things out of their performance and build off that. And that will, in return, help with their confidence and trying to start eliminating a little bit of the stress and everything else that they have.
So what I'm hearing is a lot of positive talk from the people around you, right? You really have to be mindful about what you say when you say it, especially to kids, as parents, as a coach. Because I'm glad you mentioned the ride back home, because a lot of times the ride to the game is super easy. All right, get going. You got the music. You're pumping the kid up. Everything's positive. You lose, and then the ride back home is miserable. And now
Yes.
the kid is like dreading getting in that car, right? So that's the other part of the balance, where we have to make sure that we do follow through on being positive, making sure we focus on the process, not the outcome. And I'm talking about as parents, right?
Hmm.
um as long as there's progress, as long as there's all these little other factors, right? And as coaches as well, like, we have to make sure that we start that positive self-talk, because I see it all the time. Like, there are many coaches that, and this is not only for goalkeepers, this is in general, that they get a specific team, and it's already kind of like, oh, we're going to struggle because of this, or oh, we're going to struggle because of that, or oh, so now you're starting to put some negative thoughts in your own mind, and then it's just a snowball effect. It's just a snowball effect. And it's a lot of work. Staying positive, being positive is certainly a lot of work, and nobody, like, you can't take that away from anybody. Um, so Michael, as we wrap this up here, um, what do you think we as coaches, and I think you mentioned this already, but what can we as coaches, something simple that we as coaches can do to help the players out?
Be positive, but truthful, because you can be truthful to your player in a positive way and not in a negative way. And then you can still get the same outcome, if not a better outcome, by just being truthful, but in the positive matter.
It's simple. It's very, yeah. You don't have to lie. You don't have to be facetious. You can absolutely be positive while being honest. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
Not a problem. And thank you all for being here. And then we will see you again. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Art.